Ever wonder what happens when the world's top athletes clash with popular opinion? Consider this. Patrick Bet David, a feisty entrepreneur renowned for his outspoken thoughts on just about everything, is taking to social media to celebrate Caitlin Clark's recent record-breaking game. Yes, you heard it correctly. Caitlin Clark, the teenage basketball star who has been shaking up the sports world with her unquestionable skill. But what's gotten everyone even more stirred up is the WNBA's response, which some are describing as a meltdown. So what happened? How did Clark's performance elicit such passionate responses, and why is the WNBA receiving so much negative attention? Buckle up as we delve into the drama, records, and heated debates that are sweeping the sports world by storm.
Foul on Caitlin Clark and what's happened with the frenzy, with the market reacting to this. So this video is Caitlin's about to get the inbound pass, and then she gets fouled. Go ahead and play this clip, Rob.
The stage was set for a highly anticipated showdown between the Indiana Fever and the Atlanta Dream, but this was no ordinary game. It would go down in history. The excitement in the stadium was evident, with everyone from casual fans to die-hard basketball fanatics eager to see Caitlin Clark, a player comparable to LeBron James and Stephen Curry, in action.
Meeting between these teams, will have one more later in the season. Indiana Fever won it 91-79. Their biggest lead was 19.
Caitlin Clark not only met but exceeded all expectations. Clark led her team to win while also setting a new WNBA record for the most points scored in a single game by a rookie. She scored 45 points, dished out 12 assists, and grabbed 10 rebounds. Clark's intensity and talent enthralled the audience as she dominated the court. Her performance was so captivating that even those who didn't usually watch women's basketball were hooked to their televisions. But it wasn't just the numbers that made this game memorable. It was Clark's influence on everyone who watched. Her ability to command the court, ferocious competitiveness, and enthusiasm for the game were apparent. She was not just playing basketball, she was making a statement, and those words reverberated well beyond the hardwood floor of Atlanta's State Farm Arena.
Alicia Gray picking up where she left off. She was huge in terms of her offensive production against Phoenix.
But the response for Caitlin Clark, top of the key three on the board.
Enter Patrick Bet David, a guy who has never been bashful about expressing his ideas. Bet David, the creator of Valuetainment and a well-known business personality, has faced criticism in the past. So when he came to social media to discuss Caitlin Clark's game, the internet took note. Bet David did not hold back. He lauded Clark's extraordinary skill, describing her as a once-in-a-generation athlete, and compared her effect on the WNBA to Michael Jordan's in the NBA, but he did not stop there. Bet David also criticized the WNBA for what he saw as a lack of support for its players, especially someone as brilliant as Clark.
They had more people go to a Los Angeles Sparks game this year than the Lakers. There was more people attending a Sparks game this year than Lakers. Did you hear about this? When you get people butts and seats, pay for people changes, cash flow changes. So
in his video, which rapidly went viral, Bet David questioned why the WNBA was not doing more to promote its elite players. This is the kind of performance that should be front page news, added the rapper. Why hasn't the WNBA capitalized on this? Why aren't they promoting Caitlin Clark and utilizing her to build the league? Bet David's statements resonated with many admirers who felt the same way. They agreed with him that the WNBA needed to be more active to enhance the league by embracing TE, promoting such as Clark properly. The topic rapidly became viral, with fans, experts, and even former players chiming in on social media.
There was this lady on First Take yesterday upset with the fact that Stephen A. Smith hasn't been talking about WNBA enough for the last few years, and she's calling him out, and it got...
As the discussion went on, everyone looked to the WNBA to see how they would react. Will they recognize Clark's unprecedented performance and the massive support she is receiving? Will they respond to Bet David's comments and take the initiative to market their players better? For a time, it seemed like the league was caught off guard. There needed to be a quick proclamation or social media postings commemorating Clark's record-breaking game. Instead, the WNBA appeared to be going about its business as normal, marketing future games and other league activities without giving Clark the recognition she deserved.
First bucket of the game. Caitlin Clark back into the ball game. It didn't take her much time to get acclimated.
Yeah, really And Indiana on the other end has 6.
This seeming lack of reaction wasn't overlooked. Fans were quick to point out the wasted opportunity, with many criticizing the WNBA for failing to provide enough support for its players. The hashtag #SupportWNBA began trending on Twitter, with supporters urging the league to step up and give players like Clark the attention they deserve. The WNBA's inaction further fueled the fire as Bet David and others increased their criticism. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Bet David said in a subsequent video, "The WNBA has a star in Caitlin Clark, but they are doing little to market her. This is why the league isn't expanding as it should."
Black rookie, what would have happened?
White supremacy.
Pat McAfee, Pat McAfee yesterday called Caitlin a white bitch.
That's right.
He said,
Do you have that clip, Ron?
While the WNBA's reaction, or lack thereof, sparked heated debate, there's no disputing Caitlin Clark's influence on the league. Since joining the WNBA, Clark has been nothing short of a sensation. Her ability to attract large audiences, both in person and on television, has transformed the league.
And we're not saying that the players on the court need to act any differently. That's the athletes are going to do what athletes are going to do in any sport. And I think we're all learning that WNBA, that's old school football, baby. That is old school football. But I would like the media people that continue to say, this rookie class, this rookie class, this rookie class. Nah, just call it for what it is. There's one white bitch for the Indiana team who is a...
Before Clark, the WNBA needed help with attendance and viewing figures. However, with Clark on the court, everything changed. Clark's home and away games were selling out, with fans anxious to see her play in person. TV viewership for WNBA games increased significantly, especially when Clark was involved.
WNBA and following women's sports is unfair to the women of this league, to your point, who have laid the groundwork for Caitlin Clark to come in and now take it to the next level. That's all I'm saying in these conversations. Kennedy Carter's...
Clark's charisma, competitiveness, and enthusiasm for the game propelled her to stardom, not simply her on-court skills. Fans identified with her on a deeper level, viewing her as more than simply a terrific player, but also a role model and ambassador for women's basketball. Clark's influence expanded outside the WNBA as well. Her success and popularity helped to raise awareness and respect for female athletes in all sports. She became a symbol of what women's basketball might be, a fast-paced, entertaining, and highly competitive sport that deserved to be recognized and supported alongside men's basketball.
Behavior is not indicative of the entire league. We are still talking about competition where you are allowed to get a little extra elbow in if you are competing and you do it within the parameters of the game. The game is physical.
As Caitlin Clark's popularity grew, so did her comparisons to some of the greatest basketball players in history. Fans and analysts alike couldn't help but compare Clark to NBA luminaries such as LeBron James, Stephen Curry, and Jason Kidd.
Who was the most exciting player to watch in the NBA?
What decade was it?
From 2010-11 till 2020.
LeBron.
Who was the most exciting player?
Kobe Bryant.
Clark's logical comparison was LeBron James, who was notorious for taking over games and dominating on both ends of the floor. Clark, like LeBron, could determine the pace of the game and improve those around her. Her court vision, basketball IQ, and leadership on the court were reminiscent of LeBron's early career in the NBA. Steph Curry's impact was also seen in Clark's game, notably her shooting abilities. Clark's deep three-point shooting and rapid release attracted parallels to Curry, whose long-range shooting transformed the game. Clark's ability to shoot from deep beyond the arc gave her a continuous offensive threat, pushing defenses to extend and react in unexpected ways.
You know who I would say to me number one?
From 2010?
Exciting?
Steph Curry.
Oh, yeah, Steph Curry.
Let me tell you.
Steph Curry,
Let me tell you. Honestly, I'm telling you, because Steph was doing something that seemed impossible.
In conversations regarding Clark's playmaking abilities, Jason Kidd's name came up often. Kidd, recognized for his great passing and ability to generate chances for his teammates, was a good match for Clark, who frequently led her team in assists. Her ability to scan the court and make the appropriate move, whether it was finding an open teammate or driving to the basket, was a critical component of what made her such an exceptional player. What made Clark genuinely exceptional was her ability to combine all of these abilities into a single package. She wasn't just a brilliant shooter, passer, or leader. She was all of these and more. This is what distinguishes her from other players in both the WNBA and the NBA.
The other end has 16 points in the paint of their 22 in the first quarter.
A big part of that is Aaliyah Boston, who's now in double figures.
You've got to gap it up, show bodies, but also they need pressure on the passer.
As the controversy between Caitlin Clark and the WNBA heated up, many fans and analysts started to question the league's advertising approach. Why wasn't the WNBA capitalizing on Clark's fame and using her to expand the league?
Good news. I've got to look at the roster to see who they picked to be on the team, but I would imagine they leaned on veterans. And while Caitlin has had an incredible season, I don't know if there's going to be a rookie on this roster.
One of the most common critiques was a lack of national TV coverage for WNBA games. Despite Clark's celebrity, many of her games were only accessible on regional sports networks or streaming services, making it impossible for fans outside of her home market to see her play. This minimal exposure was seen as a significant wasted opportunity by the league, which sorely wanted to recruit new fans and expand its following. Another issue was the WNBA's marketing strategy. While the league promoted its players on social media and other means, many thought that the efforts needed to be improved. Fans wanted to see more of Caitlin Clark, including highlights, interviews, and behind-the-scenes footage. They wanted the WNBA to go all in on advertising its top players, much like the NBA does with its greatest personalities.
Committee decision that they feel like can contribute. And the one thing that comes to my mind, while Caitlin has had an incredible season, FIBA rules are a little bit more flexible than WNBA rules when it comes to physics.
Some also suggested that the WNBA might have done more to generate hype around its games. Instead of merely putting future games on the calendar, the league might have used hype films, player bios, and other information to build excitement and expectation. By promoting each game as a must-see event, the WNBA might have drawn more viewers. It has improved its overall visibility. Of course, the WNBA wasn't the only sports organization under fire. Many fans also blamed the media for not giving women's sports the same attention and publicity as men's sports. While Caitlin Clark's record-breaking game made headlines, it received much less attention than a comparable accomplishment by a male competitor. This discrepancy in coverage was seen as just another challenge for the WNBA in its pursuit of expansion and recognition.
You know what else we know? We know Caitlin will have plenty of opportunities to make Olympic rosters in the future.
While the WNBA's advertising efforts may have fallen short in certain areas, social media and fan support have been crucial in Caitlin Clark's journey to popularity. In today's digital era, fans have more ability than ever to influence the narrative and draw attention to the players and clubs they care about.
For the WNBA, let's get to the WNBA and this sensational rookie from the Indiana Fever who continues to be box office. Clark and the Fever currently lead the W.
Clark's performance went viral on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, with admirers posting clips, jokes, and criticism about her game. The hashtag Caitlin Clark trended for days as fans all around the globe discussed her astounding performance and what it represented for the future of women's basketball. Fans weren't the only ones getting involved. Other athletes, celebrities, and influencers also flocked to social media to praise and support Clark. NBA players LeBron James and Stephen Curry tweeted about her game, while celebrities Ellen DeGeneres and Billie Jean King praised her on social media. This kind of cross-promotion raised Clark's reputation even further and increased attention to the WNBA as a whole.
Clark and the Fever currently lead the WNBA in average game attendance and per game TV viewership.
In many respects, social media became the venue on which Caitlin Clark's star fully shined. While conventional media was slow to catch on, social media enabled supporters to take control and build their own story about Clark's triumph. In doing so, they contributed to the formation of a grassroots movement with the potential to transform the perception and support for women's sports. As the dust settles following Caitlin Clark's record-breaking game and the media circus that followed, everyone wonders what comes next. Clark sees the future as tremendously bright. At just 22 years old, she has already established herself as one of the top players in the WNBA, with the potential to become one of the greatest of all time. Clark's ability to interact with fans, enthusiasm for the game, and desire to be the greatest are what make her a star, not simply her on-court prowess. These are the characteristics that will continue to distinguish her and make her a force to be reckoned with in the years ahead.
Cheryl Swoops herself. She recently spoke on her podcast, Queens of the Court, and didn't mention the rookie when speaking.
The WNBA finds itself at a crossroads. Caitlin Clark has provided the WNBA with a fantastic chance to develop and extend its audience. It is now up to the league to take and capitalize on that potential. This entails investing in marketing, increasing media attention, and providing stars like Clark the platform they deserve.
We know that Caitlin Clark is a great player and she will probably be great in the WNBA.
The WNBA should also continue to advocate for more compensation, greater sponsorship possibilities, and better working conditions for its players. Caitlin Clark's success has shown that there is a market for women's basketball, but the league must guarantee that its players are appropriately rewarded and treated with the respect they deserve. Finally, Caitlin Clark's record-breaking game was more than simply a moment in time. It was a watershed event in the WNBA's history. It was a reminder of the league's immense talent and promise, as well as a call to action for everyone involved to come together and promote women's basketball.
The ball game, it didn't take her much time to get acclimated.
Yeah, really.
So where are we going from here? For Caitlin Clark, the sky is the limit. She's already shown that she's a game changer, not only for the WNBA, but for women's sports in general. And as she continues to smash records and push limits, she will undoubtedly inspire a new generation of athletes and fans.
But despite the attendance and viewership records, there seems to be some haterade in the league in regards to Clark starting with WNBA legend.
And what about Patrick Bet David and the rest of us? We'll be watching intently, ready to celebrate the victories, criticize the defeats, and root for Caitlin Clark as she continues her path to greatness. Because one thing is certain, this is just the beginning. Cowherd Colin, an American sports personality, didn't hold back in his post-game analysis toward Team USA, slamming into the coaching choices and squad selection process, sparking uproar among fans and commentators alike.
Injured, and it may open the door for Caitlin Clark to make the Olympic team.
Cowherd started by saying that once you get beyond the top 5, 6 players, selecting Olympic basketball teams for men and women may become political. He listed Isaiah Thomas, Jaylen Brown, and Kyrie Irving as examples of players who did not make the men's squad, implying that qualities other than pure basketball ability are sometimes considered.
This is a layup. In NBA terms, it's a slam dunk. If you can get her on the Olympic team, you missed.
Olympic teams, men's and women's. After you get past the top 5 or 6 players, they can be a little political, Cowherd said. He went on to explain that this was more than simply a poor performance on the court. Cowherd's vehement assessment delved deeply into the choices, plans, and leadership that resulted in what he dubbed an Olympic embarrassment.
The Olympic women's team. You guys win gold every year. Your competition's weak. You win it every year. Give us a reason.
Cowherd said that the women's squad should have included both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, calling them the future of the WNBA. He proposed moving them to the end of the bench, claiming it would increase attention and sponsorship possibilities for women's basketball. They should have included not just Caitlin Clark, but Angel Reese, because I believe those two are the future of the WNBA, she said. My suggestion is to position them at the end of the bench. They'll draw attention. Let these competitors practice together. Magic and Bird developed a friendship. It's just beneficial for the sport. It will draw greater attention to these ladies, which may lead to further sponsorships.
You're doing yourself a favor. Don't get in the way of yourself.
Cowherd attacked the decision to omit Clark, saying Caitlin Clark belongs on the Olympic team. She belongs on the All-Star squad. She belongs in the skills competition. He maintained that women's basketball had no justification for being taken aback by Clark's brilliance, given that she had been breaking collegiate records for years before joining the WNBA. You knew 2 years in advance, oh, we got a star. 1 year from now, she will be the first choice. There was no excuse for ruining her early schedule, Cowherd added. He said that there should have been months and months of discussions before putting Clark on the Olympic squad.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. You know, what Caitlin's been able to do in her short career so far has just been
Cowherd praised Clark's remarkable WNBA exploits, which included leading the league in assists and ranking high in three-pointers made. She's undoubtedly one of the league's top offensive long-range performers. I'd say she's the greatest playmaker in the WNBA, with the most assists, he said.
Stop being precious.
He went on to state that Clark had scored or assisted on 66 points, 71% of the Fever's points. That's the most ever in league history. Cowherd utilized these numbers to back up his claim that Clark was more more than ready for Olympic competition. Cowherd accused women's basketball of treating Clark in a petty and insular manner. He said that the sport was harming itself by not fully embracing and marketing its greatest star, comparing it to how the NBA handled the entrance of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird.
For historically low self-esteem, where they want to prove that
they're trying to get her to pay her dues, but she's the one paying all the fees. She claimed she is the reason you are flying privately. She pays for everything and you expect her to pay her dues. It's ridiculous. He drew similarities with other sports, adding, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but Bird and Magic came into the league and they placed them everywhere. They attempted to spotlight them because the NBA was more confident in itself. They saw Bird and Magic's potential to raise all players, the league, revenue, and the pie.
Big mistake the first time, not putting her on the Olympic team. Don't double down on dumb. Get her on the...
Cowherd said that having Clark on the Olympic squad would greatly increase viewership and revenue for women's basketball. He contended that her participation would raise the reputations of all the other players in the club, perhaps leading to more sponsorship agreements overall. I would argue that, like Tiger Woods or Conor McGregor in their peak, she will earn more money for others than herself. Cowherd remarked that rising tides elevate all boats. He anticipated that with Clark on the squad, viewership would double or possibly triple from 7 million viewers to 14 to 18 million with Caitlin Clark, maybe more.
Not only the other women on the team that could get endorsements, but promoting your...
Cowherd also discussed the financial implications for other players, stating the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th best player on the women's Olympic team would make 6 or 7 figures in endorsements.
Anna Taurasi is not one of the 15 best players in the women's game. She's making the team.
Cowherd believes that the decision to keep Clark off the Olympic squad was a serious mistake that the sport should correct quickly. He advised women's basketball not to double down on dumb and to add Clark to the roster to give fans a cause to watch.
About it. The sport made a terrible decision on the Olympic team. The scheduling early, even though they knew she was coming out and probably going to be a #1 pick.
You go ahead and educate us on how you know the game and have covered the Olympics. Good for you. However, part of this is basic business knowledge. This is a layup and you blew it. Cowherd remarked, criticizing those in charge of squad selection. Cowherd likened the scenario to other sports welcoming its superstars, highlighting how Major League Soccer managed to sign Lionel Messi despite wage limit restrictions. It's funny how they got Messi into the MLS. The man earns more than some teams. They found a method to get him into the MLS. They weren't precious or rigid, he said.
No, this is what happens sometimes with soccer fans. They feel ignored and WA fans feel ignored, so they get very precious.
He described the choice to omit Clark as jumping over a $20 bill to get to a $5, underscoring his belief that it was an obvious error of judgment. Cowherd also addressed the claim that Clark may be a distraction, denying it outright. Your argument, which I don't believe, was that she would be a distraction in women's basketball. I roll my eyes, but it's all right, he remarked. He then pointed out the irony that her absence had become the major subject of conversation, serving as the precise distraction they wished to avoid.
To promote an upcoming Lynx preseason game. At the same time, she voiced her displeasure as she called out the lack of...
The sports commentator's criticism was not limited to the Olympic squad selection. He also criticized the WNBA's handling of Clark's admission into the league. Cowherd noted that the Indiana Fever, despite being the league's poorest club, was assigned the most difficult early schedule. They give her the toughest early schedule in the league over any other team, he remarked, implying that this was done to make life difficult for the rookie star.
They knew a year out she could be the #1 pick. They give her the toughest early schedule in the league over any other team. And remember, the Indiana Fever were the worst.
Cowherd noted connections between the WNBA's handling of Clark and other examples of companies taken off guard by unexpected success. He contrasted it to when Taylor Swift, the singer, became a billionaire with the Eras Tour, and the management team and Ticketmaster had to apologize in about 10 minutes. They couldn't provide enough tickets. They were just completely overwhelmed.
There's a reason that top movie stars and top athletes use the same 4 or 5 agents. because they can handle it.
He said that women's basketball was equally unprepared for Clark's influence, despite having plenty of time to prepare. They knew a year out she could be the #1 pick, Cowherd stated, shocked by the lack of vision. Cowherd also addressed what he saw as a bigger problem in women's basketball, claiming that prior neglect had resulted in an excessively defensive approach. This is what happens sometimes with soccer fans, and they feel ignored, and WA fans feel ignored, so they get very precious, very tribal, very insular.
And, you know, the one thing that I really love about her, she loves the game. You can tell she's put the work in. And even, you know, throughout.
He said he opposed this approach, claiming that it was detrimental to the sport's progress. She's not going to make the USA women's basketball Olympic team, and you're like, are you crazy? Cowherd expressed his amazement at the decision.
She's not going to make the USA women's basketball.
Cowherd also commented on the political element of team selection in men's basketball, stating, look at the men's team, it is political. Jaylen Brown is not on it because Nike does not want him on it. Kyrie Irving is not on it because Nike does not want him on it. He cited these cases to demonstrate that team picks often include criteria other than individual performance, but stated that Clark's judgment was especially heinous.
Again, there you go. Every time she talks, she says the right thing. It reminds me a lot of Taylor Swift. You know, like you.
You're not going to put Caitlin Clark, your Taylor Swift, on the team, he said, highlighting Clark's celebrity and possible influence. Cowherd lauded Clark's on-court performance, highlighting her leadership in assists and good three-point shooting. He emphasized the excellent influence she was having on her club, the Indiana Fever, noting Indiana has won 8 of 12. Yesterday was an excellent example, as she was the best player on the court in the 4th quarter.
There yet? But we may get down to somebody in the Olympics. They can get us back with 3 shots, 9 points in 40 seconds. It's not like you're asking to put...
He also praised Clark's off-court behavior, stating, she says the right things at the podium. There's nothing about her you don't like. Cowherd contended that Clark's induction on the Olympic squad would not only increase television ratings, but also improve the whole sport. Caitlin Clark will increase your television ratings and elevate the sport. Get her on the team. Give us a reason to watch the Olympic women's team, he insisted.
Catalyst for a business that was, and let's be honest, whereas Tiger and Conor McGregor elevated their sports, Caitlin to some degree. He
emphasized that the United States women's team's superiority in international competition made Clark's involvement much more vital, not less. You win gold every year. Your competition needs to be stronger. You win it each year. Could you give us a reason? Cowherd suggested that she would double your television ratings by promoting not just the other women on the squad who might earn sponsorships, but also your sport. Cowherd drew another link to other sports, saying there's a reason why top movie stars and top sportsmen have the same 4 or 5 agents. They can manage it. They stay calm. Women's basketball has felt overwhelmed here.
A WNBA player. She'll be an all-star, but it won't feel like this. Yeah. This was your moment. This was the wave. Grab this.
He compared Clark's potential effect to that of past revolutionary athletes from other sports. You got your Conor McGregor, baseball, Bryce Harper. You know, you got your Messi in the MLS, Cowherd remarked, underlining Clark's star power in women's basketball.
They don't get overwhelmed. Women's basketball has felt overwhelmed here. You got your
Cowherd concluded by framing Caitlin Clark's placement on the Olympic squad as a slam dunk choice that women's basketball had mysteriously missed. In basketball terminology, this is a layup. In NBA terms, it's a slam dunk, he said. If you can get her on the Olympic squad and miss the first time, do it again. You're doing yourself a favor. He challenged women's basketball decision makers not to get in the way of yourself and to grab the chance Clark represented. Don't leap over a $20 note to get to a 5, as the saying goes. You messed up the first time. Please do not make the same mistake again. Get her on the Olympic team, Cowherd continued, emphasizing his opinion that adding Clark was not just the proper move for the squad, but also for the future of women's basketball in general.
Just can't avoid talking about length. Hand in her face, drains it anyway.
In the realm of sports, it is uncommon to see a player who not only succeeds at their craft, but also reshapes the sport itself. Caitlin Clark is one such athlete. Caitlin Clark, whose name has become associated with greatness, tenacity, and groundbreaking exploits, is more than just another star player. She is a force of nature who is changing the course of women's basketball and sports in general.
The ball up in time, Clark for the win! She does it time and time again, the 40-piece
Caitlin Clark, who was born and raised in West Des Moines to Iowa, had a challenging path to becoming a sports star. She had a lifelong love for basketball and spent endless hours perfecting her talents on the court. Clark's skill was obvious from an early age, and by high school, it was clear that she was bound for success. Greatness, however, is more than simply skill. It is also about determination, resilience, and a desire to push the limits of what is possible. Clark exemplified all of these attributes, plus more. Clark's abilities were fully on show at Dowling Catholic High School. She was a scoring machine, guiding her team to multiple triumphs and receiving recognition along the way. What distinguished her was not just her ability to score points, but also her basketball IQ, court vision, and leadership. Clark was more than simply a player. She was the lifeblood of her squad. She improved the people around her, which would serve her well when she progressed to the university level.
I think just reflecting back over my 4 years is just, I'm very grateful starting and playing in front of absolutely no one during COVID. And then obviously my sophomore year, we had good crowds. The curtains were down a lot of the games, and now it's impossible to get a ticket to get in the door to our games. So, yeah. I think the people that have made it the most special, obviously my teammates, my coaches, but it isn't what it is without all of you. So seriously, I mean that, and I thank you. And this is special. I don't know if you guys realize what you're doing for women's basketball and women's sports in general, but you're changing it. You're helping us change it. So seriously, from the bottom of my heart, from all of us, we thank you so much.
Clark not only met, but exceeded expectations when she started at the University of Iowa. As a freshman, she dominated the NCAA, averaging 26.6 points per game and topping the country in scoring. Her exploits were electrifying, evoking parallels to some of the best players in the sport's history. But for Clark, this was just the beginning. Her sophomore and junior years saw her develop her game even further, making her a triple-double threat and a nightmare for opposing defenses. By the time she declared for the WNBA draft, she had become a household name. Clark came into the WNBA with high hopes after being selected as the first overall choice by the Indiana Fever. And once again, she not only met, but exceeded their expectations. In her first season, she became the first player in Indiana Fever history to record a triple-double. This was no minor effort given the league's skill level. However, Clark's effect extended beyond her on-court accomplishments. Her arrival invigorated the Fever, a squad that has struggled to find its foothold in previous years.
The Indiana Fever are busting down the door of the second half of the season. They beat one of the best teams in the league tonight at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
Final score 98-89 over the Phoenix Mercury.
It's a sold-out crowd here in Gainbridge Fieldhouse as the Indiana Fever return for the second half of the 2024 season. And the 2024 season is one these fans will never forget.
Clark's entrance constituted a watershed moment for the Fever. Since May, nearly 186,000 fans have attended her home games. This wasn't simply a local phenomenon, it was a national spike in interest in women's basketball, fueled mostly by Clark's star power. The Fever's games quickly became must-see events, drawing fans from all walks of life anxious to see the next chapter in Caitlin Clark's illustrious career. However, Clark's presence had far-reaching consequences outside the court. Her Indiana Fever shirt rapidly became one of the most in-demand things in sports, selling out in all sizes within days of release. This was more than simply products, it was a cultural movement. Clark demonstrated that women's sports could produce the same amount of enthusiasm, engagement, and financial success as their male counterparts, and the world took notice.
It's our first time here, so we're just excited to come from Iowa, to come here, help support women's sports, basketball, Caitlin Clark, the whole business.
It's everything. Girl dad, shout out all the girl dads out there. I love it to be able to come here, have fun, give my daughter the trip up. It's a trip of a lifetime.
My wife talked me into getting season tickets last year, and I'm so glad she did because we enjoy the heck out of this. This is just amazing.
We're ready to scream our lips off. Yeah, I'm ready to lose my voice.
Clark signed an 8-year, $28 million contract with Nike, the most lucrative endorsement agreement ever for a women's basketball player. This was more than simply a personal win for Clark. It was a victory for women's athletics in general. The arrangement included the launching of her own branded sneaker, a feat that few athletes, male or female, have ever accomplished. Clark was tearing down boundaries and creating new standards, not just for herself, but for every young girl who aspired to be a successful athlete. This degree of achievement, however, has its own set of obstacles. Any athlete might feel overwhelmed by the pressure to perform, media scrutiny, and fan expectations. But Clark has handled everything with elegance and modesty. Despite the plaudits, she has stayed grounded, concentrating on her game and her role as a teammate. In interviews, she often downplays her solo triumphs, focusing on the significance of team success and the involvement of her coaches and teammates in her path.
This is special. I don't know if you guys realize what you're doing for women's basketball and women's sports in general, but you're changing it. You're helping us change it. So seriously, from the bottom of my heart, from all of us, we thank you so much. And I just feel really grateful to be here, and I've put on an Iowa jersey for 4 years. But like Coach Bluder and Kate said, like, there's still so much more fun to have, and we're not done. There is.
Clark's modesty and commitment to her art have only made her more popular among admirers. She has become a role model not just for young athletes, but for everybody who values hard work, tenacity, and dedication to success. Her effect is felt not just in the United States, but all across the globe, as her tale encourages young athletes to follow their ambitions regardless of the hurdles. The ascent of Caitlin Clark is part of a larger trend in women's sports. Over the last several decades, women's sports have made great progress in terms of visibility, participation, and financial investment. However, the trip has been complex. For many years, women's sports were ignored, with less media attention, poorer pay, and fewer possibilities for athletes to participate at the top levels. However, things are changing, and Caitlin Clark is at the vanguard of this transition.
The team do without said player. And for me, you take Caitlin Clark off the floor, I mean, that just creates so many issues for Iowa.
Tough shot there, got it to go past Cunningham.
Clark's success reflects the progress that has been achieved, but it also emphasizes the work that has to be done. While her accomplishments are admirable, they also highlight the persistent inequities between men's and women's athletics. The fact that her $28 million contract is the wealthiest ever for a female basketball player is important, but it also serves as a reminder of the financial disparity that remains in sports. The WNBA has had its own set of issues throughout the years. Despite its amazing skill, the league still needs to achieve the same degree of notoriety and support as the NBA. However, with women like Caitlin Clark leading the way, the league is starting to evolve. Attendance is up, good sales have skyrocketed, and social media engagement is at an all-time high. The Fever presently leads the WNBA in terms of social media engagement, video views, and follower acquisition. This clearly indicates that interest in women's basketball is rising, as is the possibility for further financial commitment and support.
But the other thing I like that Jalen Sherrod talked to us about was just this team and the grit and the pride and the toughness as Caitlin Clark knocks down a three. There are a lot of Iowa fans here in Seattle, and Caitlin with the steal and the stick.
The popularity of Clark and the Fever demonstrates the power of narrative in athletics. The story of Clark's journey to popularity, her record-breaking accomplishments, and her influence on and off the court has fascinated spectators worldwide. Social media has played an important part in this, with clips from her games becoming viral and her interactions with fans being widely shared. The Fever has had over 800 million video views across all platforms, outperforming major leagues such as the NBA and NFL throughout this period. This degree of involvement is unique for a women's sports team and demonstrates the impact of Clark's tale. However, as Caitlin Clark continues to reach new heights, Team USA confronts serious obstacles in the 2018 Olympics. The addition of 3-on-3 basketball has provided a new depth to the tournament, but it has also presented the US team with a number of unexpected problems. Despite their dominance in conventional basketball, the United States squad is not presently considered a major contender in the 3-on-3 version. This has prompted worries about their capacity to compete at the top levels and recover their global supremacy.
You know, it speaks really highly to the player that Caitlin is, to the superstardom that she's created, for people to feel this strongly about something that most of us who know basketball just know it makes sense. Like, everyone that has really made a case for Caitlin has made it on the side of marketing. That has been their main emphasis. That has been their main point. Even Stephen A., when we were going back and forth about it, he was like, I understand the basketball perspective.
The current United States 3-on-3 squad includes renowned players such as Canyon Barry and Jimmer Fredette, both of whom have outstanding backgrounds. However, the team needs more star power from NBA players, raising concerns about their potential to compete with the best teams in the globe. FIBA restrictions have made it tough for NBA players to participate, and the NBA season's overlap with the 3-on-3 season complicates things even more. This scenario has sparked criticism of NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, who has been accused of putting sponsorship agreements ahead of the team's best interests. Many think that the NBA's influence on USA basketball is excessive, and that this has resulted in choices that have harmed the team's prospects of success. The United States team's dismal defeat to the Netherlands in a recent tournament has further fueled the flames, with many fans and commentators doubting the program's future orientation.
Caitlin is a great player, and I think the way that she's kind of came into this league, she's continuing to hold her own and show everyone what she can do. I think that, I'm excited to go alongside these 12, but know that Caitlin is going to have a bright future with USA basketball. And I think, the points that she made, she's even more motivated, more hungry, and just knowing that her time is going to come.
Team USA's difficulties extend beyond the absence of NBA players. In addition, financial factors have made it tough to lure elite players to the 3-on-3 squad. The salary for 3-on-3 athletes is much lower than what they might make in the NBA or elsewhere, making it less appealing to elite players. This has resulted in Team USA needing help to deploy their strongest lineup, placing them at a disadvantage in international contests. The emergence of Ice Cube's Big Three League has complicated matters even more. The Big Three has gained popularity as an alternative to conventional basketball forms, prompting concerns that the NBA regards it as competition. Some argue that the NBA would rather see Team USA fail in 3-on-3 basketball than give the Big Three more credit. In response, Ice Cube has promised a financial incentive for the gold medal winning team to participate against the Big Three All-Stars, potentially raising the reputation of 3-on-3 basketball and putting more pressure on Team USA.
Honestly, I'm just focused on this right now, one thing at a time. Can't always just be moving on to the next. My focus is right here.
As the Olympics approach, the question remains, will Team USA overcome these hurdles and restore its dominance? What about the international stage? The financial gap, a dearth of NBA players, and the emergence of other basketball forms all make it difficult. However, the team's tenacity and the backing of its supporters might be the difference.
Good defense, especially if you're not scoring, you can't let the Americans score.
Gabby Williams for three, the first points of the game for France.
While Team USA confronts uncertainty, Caitlin Clark continues to excel, establishing new marks and inspiring a generation. Her narrative is about determination, skill, and the ability to alter the game forever. As we prepare for the Olympics, one thing is certain: the world of sports is changing, and Caitlin Clark is leading the push. Clark's experience demonstrates that transformation is possible, even in the face of hardship. Her effect on women's athletics is evident, and it will be felt for years to come. Young athletes all around the globe look up to her as more than simply a top player. She is a pioneer who has opened the path for them to pursue their ambitions. Clark's legacy will be one of breaking boundaries, establishing new standards, and demonstrating that women's sports deserve equal respect, support, and funding as men's sports. The obstacles that Team USA faces in the Olympics are enormous, but they also provide an opportunity, a chance to evaluate the program's goals, invest in the growth of 3-on-3 basketball, and secure the United States' continued dominance on the world scene. The road ahead will be difficult, but with the appropriate preparation, Team USA can rise to the challenge and restore its position at the top. As we continue to follow Caitlin Clark's journey and the hurdles that Team USA faces, it's vital to remember that sports are more than simply victories and defeats. They are about tales, moments of inspiration, and the ability to bring people together. Caitlin Clark has already provided us with several examples of these moments, and as her career continues, we should expect many more. Stay tuned for additional updates on Caitlin Clark's journey, the progress of women's sports, and Team USA's next challenges. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave your opinions in the comments. Thank you for watching.